Hey Collective, and welcome back to the Altruistic channel. My name is Al, and today's video is going to be a very direct one. It's going to be something a little bit more progressive and innovative. I've decided to go ahead and honor the fact that I've been speaking to this turquoise leadership and to this new humanitarian way of life where we kind of say exactly what we mean, and we have a transparency to things when we create them in a new way. And so I decided to go ahead and honor that by just putting everything out there as to who I am interested in working with at this particular vibration and why, so as to bring in the interest of those that would want to partake, and more importantly, allow you all to see the truth in what I'm saying and why I find you of interest, as opposed to just hearing it through the ethers. So to begin, obviously one of the biggest figures that I have in my mind that I'd really love to work with is someone who I believe to be already an established world teacher, someone who followed in a very progressive light that has welcomed all people of all faiths and done incredible work, which is Miss Oprah Winfrey. As you know, I made an offer. I approached you at one point, and that is very much still intact. I believe in your ability to find a voice for all people, and I think that would be really important. I like to pick your brain and kind of get to know how it is that you have done what you've done in a world that seems very, very narrow-minded at times, and how you've managed to touch the hearts of so many. Which then brings me to Mr. Tyler Perry, who I absolutely adore. I don't know if he's ever heard of me, but just so he knows, the reason I find you of more interest than most people is because of the fact that you and I have similar pasts. We both come from New Orleans, and we both have gone through what I would say is an incredible journey of raising from the dirt up. And I just find you incredibly interesting as far as picking your brain to your creation process and how you've been able to make the impossible possible every time that you've tried to do so. That then brings me to, of course, Anderson Cooper, who, setting aside my huge crush that I have on him, putting all that to the side, one of the things that I find most appealing about Mr. Cooper is that he has managed to make a name for himself in a way that kind of puts his the legacy that he comes from secondary to what he's built for himself. And he has an incredible ability to find the truth of things and speaks to the voice of the people. And so, of course, to me, that's one of the greatest turn-ons in a business standpoint. But as far as trying to reach people and ask the tough questions of people, like in a way that actually is the tit for tat, I can't think of anyone more appealing for that particular reason. The other thing that I find interesting about Mr. Cooper is that he has an ability to stay genuinely himself. Even his laughter has a way of being very humble, and I find that to be incredibly endearing, especially at a time when we're trying to build something as mammoth as a new transparent leadership that is going to, literally put the people first as opposed to the people second. The next person on my list is actually kind of interesting. It's Katy Perry, and the reason I find Katy Perry so interesting is because she is like a spiritual guru in her own way. If you listen to the lyrics to all of her music, you find that she's incredibly gifted and incredibly grounded and almost like a Joan of Arc for equality. And I find that to be a very, very interesting thing to bring to the table. That's someone who will see things in a different way, that will bring a lot of spirituality to the mundane, or even make something a little bit more pop culture-ish. Who else would it be? I have an incredible interest in Ryan Seacrest. And the reason I have Ryan Seacrest in my head is because he reminds me of one of the saints. I think it's Saint Germain. And one of the characteristics that he has is that he works his butt off to build his empire, and he hasn't let anybody stop him. Rumors don't bother him. None of that is even remotely touching him. He's one of those people that just genuinely believes that he can, and he follows that Mr. Obama type of thing where he says, yes, we can. And that type of personality at the table would be very, very important, because instead of worrying about what's stopping us, I find that Mr. Seacrest would be one of those people that would go, no, we can find a way around it. And he would also be able to maybe give us hints as to how we do it in a radio broadcast, whereas like Miss Winfrey and Mr. Perry could do it in TV, and Katy Perry could do it like in music. Everybody coming to this table that I'm mentioning right now, or Mr. Cooper with like reporting, all of them have a genuine mastery that I find appealing, that would be super important for the turquoise leadership. And so the reason I'm bringing it out in a very public way is because it's a public matter. If we're going to really commit to changing the world, then we need to do it in a transparent way. So why not start with the very beginning? I'm not ashamed of it. In fact, I'm incredibly very happy with the fact that I'm doing this. I really firmly believe that we can change the world, so why would I hide that? So that's where this is coming from. The other person I really want to meet and pick her brain is Madonna. And here's the interesting thing about Madonna, is that she's found a way to make a career of making a very spiritual, poignant point all the time, but she does it in a way that kind of tugs at the more controversial. And so what she's been able to do is bring interest from people around the world to follow not just her music and the incredible words that she uses, because if you think of Ray of Light album in particular, you see that she's ascended. And so that kind of brain brings brilliance to how to convert a controversial topic into something that lures the audience in to find out why she was willing to put herself out there. Other parties that I'd really be interested in working with, as I mentioned before, is Mr. Gates and Miss Gates, or Mrs. Gates. Bill and Melinda Gates I find incredibly appealing because, like I've said, they're like bookends of each other. They're like sacred beings in my head. Their energy signature is very pure, and if you think about what he's managed to accomplish in his life and what he's done in opening the world up to the whole 4D experience with the whole internet and so forth, and the fact that that's when he attracted the love of his life and the beauty that she brings into it, because you know that she's brilliant as well. I have questions that I think the world would like to know about the ethics and morals that go along with an artificial intelligence, and he might be able to speak to that a little bit more candidly, and he might be able to help us get over some of the hurdles that some of us have with the vaccine and stuff like that, because he has a brain that functions differently. On the same thing, or on the same line, I would say that Angelina Jolie has my interest because of her humanitarian effort. If you think about an ascension portal or an ascension person, you pretty much can't think of anybody beside her, because she went through like a period where she was growing and she went through some controversy and some stuff, and she rose above it. And then any time that anything has come to her that has kind of tried to break her down, she has just gotten stronger and stronger. And so as far as humanitarian aid, I would love to get her opinion on certain things that I would like to work on and see what she thinks about the world at large. And of course, I can't mention even her without mentioning Brad Pitt, because of the fact that I'm from New Orleans and all the work they did after Katrina. And so he would be equally, I would love to pick his brain about some of the efforts that maybe we could be doing for regional stuff, especially like New Orleans, because, you know, there's a lot of corruption going on right now, and it's a hospitality town, and they're kind of dying out right at the moment, but we're trying to get them back on board. And so he might have like a really good voice for that. Another energy that I really find appealing as far as a global market is it the man who represents Tesla, the one who's trying to go to space? I find him incredibly interesting. I would like to pick his brain as to what it is that he's taking as far as precautions for picking the right crew. Are they spiritual? What is the representation that we're getting towards expanding into a new horizon? After all, it is the next great pilgrimage. There's two different pilgrimages that are happening in our world right now. One is the spirituality and grounding this whole turquoise leadership for the new earth that will be left after the turmoil of the changes that are going on right now. And then the other one is space exploration. So what would be some of the things that we as humanity would maybe like to know, and have a candid conversation with him about what he's doing to ensure that the best of humanity goes up as opposed to the corruptive or hypocritical. Like, what are the steps that are being taken in that regard? And then I wanted to do a weird shout out. There is a Pisces out there, someone that is a Piscean in astrology, who just was honored with something incredible in the ethers. And I know this is going to sound very bizarre, but to that person I just want to say congratulations. That's pretty awesome, and I look forward to meeting you and working with you, but I'll let you kind of approach me, because I don't invade people's privacy. And then there is the incredible work of I can't think of the other person's name at the moment. I'm thinking of the man who does all of the WikiLeaks, the guy who did the WikiLeaks, and he brought us all the information about what was going on behind the scenes. I would like to speak to you. I know that you're probably somewhere else, but I would love to pick your brain about what you've gone through and what it was like to kind of break down the hypocrisy and kind of speak to the truth of things. I know that people have negative connotation towards you, and they don't really always say the nicest thing, like you're not patriotic and so forth, but I don't find that to be true. I find you to be exceedingly valuable to a turquoise leadership, and what it took you to come forward with information like that, and to have the strength and conviction to stand by that, and to keep releasing information about what's going on with the 5D and what's going on with all the other things going on like that. That would be a great person to have at the table, someone who understands what it took to actually to survive a persecution like that in a public arena, and actually bring the world something quite sacred and wonderful for all of us. And then there's an incredibly gifted man who is out of England. I don't remember your name, sir, but you know who I'm speaking to. You do all of the inspirational work with the spirituality and some of the things dealing with the collective consciousness and the evolution of humanity at this stage. I find you incredibly interesting, and I would love to work with you in a way that deals with questions that I would have as a layman, that the audience, if you will, people that maybe tap into it and listen to however this is broadcasted, they would find of equal value, because they would have the same questions. Because a lot of us have this situation right now where we're being gifted things from a higher source, but we speak in, I'll call it like Alanese in my case, or Madonnaese or Oprahese, where we speak to a certain demographic, but us being brought together would be able to break that down and to actually start speaking to a wider and wider array of people. And so I find you incredibly important in that role because of the work you're doing with the collective consciousness. Which then brings me to, I really love David Palmer over at the Leo King. I find his his organization over there very uplifting. The high vibe community is very, very important, in my opinion, to the spiritual ascension that we are all going through as a collective. And instead of shying away from pursuing him again and speaking to him about what he knows as far as the astrological points and the way that he has a mastery of that particular art form, would be of great value, in my opinion, to branching out and to actually speaking to cross demographics and start to actually engage what it is science brings to the table in a very spiritual way, because he's a pioneer in that way. And then Leo over at actualize.org. Leo at actualize.org is an incredibly gifted, intelligent man who, it's really hard to get a hold of him, so that's why I'm putting him in here, and he's probably a little bit shy and probably won't appreciate it, but I'm one of those people that's very direct. It's go time, and so we're trying to build this new frontier and do it in a way that brings all of the brightest minds, and I couldn't put this out without speaking his name. He has an incredible work ethic with things having to do with, like, I think he just put a video out about information for young people. A great meditative series. He does a lot of work with the spiral dynamics. He did an incredible job there, and he speaks very candidly about a lot of things I think are of great value, and he would be a great person to have on the team. Also, Aaron Doty, who is over on YouTube, who also is doing an incredible, he's done this transformation in front of the world that went from one thing to kind of a maturation, an evolution of the ascension process, and now deals very specifically with very high vibrational things that some people would have had a hard time grasping if it had not been for his work that he's done up until now. And then now he's just blossomed. And I find him incredibly worthwhile. I hear it's snowing, or that it snowed over in Arizona, but I know that I would find that very interesting to speak to you about what it was that made you make the transition, because you were going in a very brilliant path and then you evolved, and I'm just curious what that would be. And so that's kind of the offer that I'm putting out there. Instead of hiding behind here and just trying to go individually to every one person, I'm going to just put put it all out there and allow the universe to take it from here, because I've noticed that we are at a point now where I know that people they don't know who else is interested, so it's usually better for the person who's at ground zero to just say what the interest is and why. And so now all of you that I've mentioned, even though some of you are famous or whatnot, you understand why I'm pursuing you specifically in your energetic vibration. It's because of what you bring to the world at large. And I couldn't think of a more honorable way to just be direct. If we're really going to go for this, if we're really going to find investment or find a path that gives us the ability to really, really look at what the turquoise leadership would do, then naming some brilliant minds that would be of value to the table and to explain why would bring a lot more interest to the situation. And so, as one of the spokespeople for this whole thing, as a divine servant, I just thought it would be much more appropriate to just do it from the beginning. If something when something happens from this, everyone can go, well, it happened because of this video, or it happened because of the fact that this person was willing to just put it out there and didn't care what anybody thought. At the end of the day, we're working on saving humanity from devastation and destruction if they choose to go the wrong way, by being optimistic, by looking at solutions instead of problems. We understand that the government is in place in order to help humanity survive catastrophe, but that's on a structural level. That's not in a spiritual or humanitarian effort. It has to do more with just basics and necessities, whereas we, the turquoise leadership, would be dealing with the mental and spiritual realm, and that's a completely different ballgame. Whereas religion would have to deal with literally just spirituality and trying to get them into a place where they're not lost and in the dark. So each of us would be doing very different things. But as far as blending the houses together, it would be this group of people, and that is why I, here on Altruistic channel, decided to post this and put it out to the world. I don't fear the unknown. I bless the unknown. I'm loving the unknown. And from this video, I hope a lot of great energy and a lot of great things happen, because the people that I've mentioned have mastered their art form. They have brought things to the world that have not been seen before, and they are now in a position where they might want to come together and do something great for humanity. That's it for me, guys. I hope you have a great day. I videotaped this on Monday, so it'll probably be going out Tuesday morning. As always, guys, you know how to get a hold of me, 818-984-5339. If you're interested in emailing me, it's a little bit harder for me to get the emails, but just if you do, I'll still read it. It's KAHMOOS@msn.com. I hope you guys are having a wonderful night, and